So here's a little hint from, the perspective of a layperson. If you're in public relations, shrieking like a Dalek on amphetamines isn't really a good look. Yeah, it's time for another open letter. So, this originally started as a video response, but due to technical difficulties, this has turned into another open letter. This one addressed to John Richards and the Anti-Theist International Organization. Now, I'm not sure, well, I'm fairly certain most of my audience is aware of the current snafu dealing with the Anti-Theist International Convention. But if you aren't too aware of it, I will link a nice quick overview from Ocean Keltoy in the description below, and Nervardia's interview with John Richards, which this was originally going to be a response to, like I said, also in the description below. So, Mr. Richards, or John, or you know what, we're going to be extra informal about this. Johnny Boy. Seems to me that while you present yourself as the public face of the Anti-Theist International organization, or rather, as far as their conference is concerned, it seems to me that you're more being used as some sort of ventriloquist dummy or mask for Lance Gregerchuk, because we do have evidence that the Anti-Theist International Organization is still headquartered in a business, at a business address that is very much still connected with Lance, and you try to dodge every single question about whether Lance is still indeed the main funder of your conference. We'll get to that later. And also the fact that Lance seems to be still using the official email address for the Anti-Theist International Conference. Link to a tweet below from David Worley. Now, but that's all beside the point, and what we're really here to talk about is your abysmal performance interviewing, both with Shannon Q and more particularly with Nervardia recently. Well, for one, you come across as very condescending and very misogynist. I can't say that it's a YouTube versus other sources of media thing, because I haven't seen you interviewing with a male presenter, with a male YouTuber, but it seems to me that you and Mr. Gregerchuk are very much cut from the same cloth, so it could very well be a YouTube versus other forms of media thing. But what you need to know about this community is we are very tight-knit. We share a lot of information between each other. So while it seems that you're trying to bounce around platforms to try and obfuscate behind a web of, misdirection, we can see through your gossamer lies. Because we share, the collated information. And we can see where there's not, where things don't match up. Now, and the fact that, you lied about David Worley's nomination, about not receiving it, because we have, Dave has produced an email where you tried to bribe him to do an interview with you to be considered, to have your nomination, to have his nomination actually considered. And also, I'm not sure if it's, if it's part of this obfuscation or if it's just blind incompetence. But there is very much a difference between addressing you, the you as the face of the anti-theist international conference, you in the plural, addressing the organization, and addressing you personally. Now, it seemed to me that a large part of the interview questions from Nervardia were, while she did say you, and I will say that pronouns can be very difficult for one of your age, and the second person can be particularly fuzzy. But it seems to me that if you're going to be the face of a public organization, the public face of an organization, and dealing with a controversy, that it's, that you get a handle on when you means plural, the organization, and you is directed personally at, at yourself. Like this instance right here. I am talking to you, Johnny boy. But, so, and you took a lot of the questions directed at the organization, directed, largely towards and about the organization very personally. And, you, like, for instance, whether it's a good idea for the organization to platform misogynists such as David Silverman, or, whether the organization or, the conference will be allowing Lance to attend, though he broke your policy. And we're going to get about how perfect the policy has been. After all, it was written by Daleks. I couldn't, technical difficulties. I couldn't use actual clips, so I figured I'd just throw in a Dalek voice real quick. This is somewhat serious, but it is still, partially for entertainment. For the entertainment of my viewers. If this ever reaches you, Johnny boy, I doubt this will ever reach you, Johnny boy. I am a tiny channel after all. But beyond that, let's move to this policy. Now, and along with the policy, the planning of the conference. Now, the thing is, right, if you are going to be holding an event or, a conference, you need to get things planned properly before you announce it. Like, and obviously, you have trouble with the internet. I get it. But But what you need, what usually happens is the website gets built before it's released. All the information is put onto the website, that's being developed before it's released. You have your policies in place before you announce the conference, before you start getting big name guests. Unless the conference is just a mask for a posh, a posh wank fest. Yeah, the gloves are coming off on this one because this is some bullshit here. But having, only beginning to release a policy on, sexual harassment and assault at your event only after receiving pressure from the public is not a good look. And the fact that you have been, dodgy about how the policy will be implemented, if it will be implemented, is not doing you any favors. Because you know what? There are other organizations that I've had experience with that have sexual harassment and assault policies. And they actually have representatives, dabbled throughout the organization whose sole job it is to handle such problems and complaints. Yeah, this organization is, the U.S. military, and I'm certain even a Brit like you is aware with how well that has gone in recent years. Now, I will say I have been out of the I've been out of the military for nearly 5 years already. So, who knows? It may be getting better. But without the will to, without the demonstrable will to enforce the policy, it is only worth the paper it's written on. And your policy actually isn't written on any pieces of paper as of yet. Though I will say in regards to recent shortages, I can think of a few uses for this policy. Given that we have no idea whether or not it will actually be enforced. Given the attitudes of of you and Mr. Gregorchuk, and how blasé you have been about this, very real concern about safety in, for your conference. And in regards to your attitudes in regard, to towards these concerns about the misogyny and the potential for harassment, it's very much interesting that you always try to say, oh, but we've got these big names, which seems, though it seems that these big names are starting to see the writing on the wall and jump from this sinking ship. And, yes, you try to deflect onto how posh and nice this gala and conference is going, and award show is going to be. But, the awards are only, as good as, how fair the selection process is, and it seems that is also a bit shady and skeevy. But we've already somewhat addressed that earlier in the film. Now, so And another, tactic that you tend to use while, to try and dodge the questions about platforming misogynists and platforming people with sexual harassment allegations is we're not as bad as places where they stone adulterers. Or we're not, it's not like we're making people wear burqas. Now, it seems to me that it seems to me that the problem you have with these behaviors is that they're coming from people who aren't you, or who don't, they're coming from an organization that isn't yours. It very much seems to me that rather than addressing the problems that these fundamentalist religions have, you're merely addressing the religion as a problem itself and going on with meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And that is a rather large red flag. Finally, your favorite dodge is the people without convictions dodge, the so you think you're better than the law dodge, the mob rule dodge. Now, there is a difference between calling for the incarceration of people with allegations, which would be wrong because, once again, they are not convicted, and we assume innocence until proven guilty. However, that is not the case here. We are not talking about the law. We are talking about a social gathering. We are talking about an elective conference, and whether you, the anti-theist international organization, have the right to ban people from your conference that you are organizing. It is, just like YouTube has the right to ban, certain content, Twitter has the right to ban or block users who are being abusive, or so we're not asking you to, incarcerate people with vigilante justice. We are asking you to provide a safe place for guests of your conference. Now, and personally, I would not want my wife, going to this conference, not because I fear for her safety, but I fear that it would end up similar to if John Wick, attended a party hosted by Michael Vick. But another thing about this whole law dodge, you mentioned, you said to Nervardia that, and I very closely paraphrase, that she wanted Jim Crow. She wanted mob rule. Jim Crow is not mob rule. And I get it. You're British. You probably only have a cursory knowledge of American history. But as a, Yank, as an American, Jim Crow was not mob rule. Jim Crow was a legalized, a system of laws that held African Americans as second-class citizens. The whole segregation policy was part of Jim Crow. Now, it did, they did turn the other cheek to, or they did, look the other way when it came to organizations such as the Ku Klux Klan, even though they were, they have been recognized as a terrorist organization by the FBI. But, perhaps if you are, going to interview, and if you are going to be using metaphors or, allegories or analogies, it's best if you use correct ones. And I am being extensively charitable to you in assuming that you just used a bad metaphor. Aside from trying to cheekily and sneakily call, Nervardia a racist. So I'm going to close. I'm going to stop addressing you and the Anti-Theist, international organization / conference. And I am going to address my viewers. So what can we do to help get the message to these people that they need to learn some fucking responsibility? Well, personally, the only thing I can see that they claim that they have going for them is their big guests. And so I suggest someone with a bit more pull than me, with a bit bigger audience than me, start a petition to request that Stephen Fry and Richard Dawkins withdraw from the conference. And, and once we get several, enough, a sizable amount of signatures on it, providing, tweeting the petition to their agents. That's the best idea that I have right now. Now, in regards to other issues, you can like, share, comment. Share this video out. Maybe maybe someone with some pull will, with some more, with a bigger audience than me will hear this idea and think it's good. But, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube things, and remember, indoctrination is a hell of a drug. We can do the innuendo, we can dance and sing, but when the interview is over, we haven't told you a thing. People know that crap is king. Give us dirty laundry.